vintage radio restorers. This is the chassis from an Addison Courthouse 5A3. It's one in a walnut case. 5-tube radio, made in Toronto, Ontario. Case was made in Waterloo. I've done a few of these. This is actually the 11th one that I've owned over the last few years. And this one here I bought from an antique market. And the price was actually very reasonable, considering for what these used to go for. And it was shown as completely restored by a local radio shop. Well, I know who the local radio shop is. I'm not going to name any names. This, I'm just pointing out the workmanship in this. Workpersonship. You can see they used nothing wrong with using these capacitors, but you should disconnect the old CAN capacitor to put these on top, because section number 1, the 60 microfarad section, had a 70 ohm load on it, and that was causing some problems. The radio, believe it or not, actually worked, sounded terrible. I don't know how it could have ever sounded good. There's this, how can I explain it? Instead of desoldering the terminal lug, which isn't hard, right? Soldering iron and whatever type of vacuum desoldering bulb you use, or desoldering braid. These are terminal lugs from the 1940s. They very rarely break. You can heat them pretty hard. You can clip them off. You can grab them with needle nose pliers. But to snip off the old component and then just to sort of build a bridge up of solder to the new components in between, it's not the way that I was taught anyway. The other funny thing is, I've started on this side, started working over. Many of these, okay, this is a 0.047. In this position, it's supposed to be a 0.0047. And this one is supposed to be the 0.47, and it's the 0.0047. It's just kind of funny that not one of these yellow capacitors, polyester capacitors, is the right value for its position in the circuit. Just very strange workmanship. And then small things like the antenna, the wound coil antenna separating from the masonite backing. Well, while I was waiting for the soldering iron to heat, a little bit of glue, some clothespins to fix that. For a radio restore, that's stuff you do every day. But anyway, I would just like to say, some of this restoration work, and I'm seeing it on tube stuff, I'm seeing it on solid state stuff from the 70s. And here's what I think it comes down to. It's the lost art of soldering. You know, I can just give an example here, okay? To desolder something like this, see if the iron's hot enough. A little bit of a wiggle. Snip it off. You can take the soldering bulb. You know, open it up. Any grit that's in there, so that's, now I've got a little bit of a hole going. There's the original lead. Well, instead, the person clipped the lead on the old capacitor and hooked it on. I mean, that looks nasty. Whereas this one here, this is the first cap I put in. I desoldered everything. Put the cap in. See, there's a burned resistor here, did that. One of these things with these Courthouse radios, the 50L6 and the 35Z5, very hot in this area. And I find the wiring gets kind of charcoal. The resistors do, so you really should do all the capacitor resistors, double check all the connections, even cut some of these. I cut back and re-terminated. But this will likely work quite good. Most of them do. But you know what? It would have been better off not to restore this one. The way it was working, it wasn't worth the money they paid. Anyway, thanks for watching and listening.